This year, the Atomic Adventure Race is a stage race, meaning competitors will complete 2 stages for up to 30 hours of in-motion adventure. During the first stage of the race, the rock gear stage, competitors had climbed 1,000 vertical feet to the top of Amicalola Falls State Park. After that, they proceeded to mountain bike for 40 miles on single track, jeep trails, and Forest Service roads. After spending so long in the saddle, teams then turned to the paddle section of the race, where they endured 27 miles of downriver paddling, with rapids and even an under-mountain tunnel thrown in. After they got out of the canoes, they ran down the road to the end of the rock gear stage of the race. After 2 to 6 hours of rest, depending on how quickly they completed stage 1, the race restarts for the Reality Bikes stage of the race. This stage starts at midnight, and racers will be tested on all fronts as they navigate at night, bike back roads, are tested on a rope section, and bushwhack in the backwoods before finishing. And with the first stage behind them, they're not as fresh as they once were. Some teams will have to exercise a tremendous amount of willpower just to get up and begin the race anew at the Reality Bike stage. Between stages, the racers will have received several checkpoints for the next stage of the race. Some of the checkpoints were straightforward, while others necessitated advanced navigational skills to be able to plot. One critical checkpoint was left out, and as the Reality Bike stage begins at midnight, is given out to the racers a minute before the start. This checkpoint's omission from the pre-stage instructions prevents any team from strategizing on the later Burnt Mountain section, a Rogaine or interior leg of the race. They will have to form a strategy for this section on the clock. And as racers are scrambling to take down the coordinates for this key point, the gun will go off. Racers will then trek northward through Dawson Forest's city track towards CP-17. But before they get there, and depending on the path they choose, the Blue Trail crossing of the Etowah stands in their way. If water levels are high, this may challenge racers to work together as a team, or teams to work together in order to cross. A single tied-off rope will be provided for the racers to cross safely. As they cross the water, if they lose their footing, they'll be pushed by the current back towards the shore and have to start over again. CP-17 itself is located beside a hidden waterfall in Dawson Forest. After it, they'll move on north towards the Edge of the World Falls along Amicalola Creek. There's a boardwalk here and a nice hiking trail on which racers will exit Dawson Forest's city track. After exiting the city track, racers will transition to their bikes that have been shuttled by race management to CP-19. From there, they'll bike northward, crossing over Steel Bridge, an old covered steel bridge that racers crossed a couple of times in last year's race. They will continue to move forward to the Burnt Mountain section, but before they arrive at the Burnt Mountain TA, they'll have 1,000 contiguous feet to climb on bike. By this point, all the muscles that they've used on the bike have been depleted of any energy. Most teams will be spotted pushing their bikes up this section of the course, the hill dubbed by race management as Jeff's Death, after Jeff Leninger of Team Florida Extreme. Burnt Mountain is a Rogaine section, meaning teams can get the checkpoints in any order they wish. Some strategy is necessary here, and leading teams which are close to one another may choose different routes. This provides a breakaway point right before the finish. Considering that a lot of this section will be bushwhacking, there's a lot of room for error, and navigators who are fatigued from a long race will be tested here. The terrain is much hillier at Burnt Mountain than the previous trekking section of the Reality Bike stage, and this leg of the race will take roughly 3 to 4 hours for most teams. Included in this section is a ropes course. At CP22, one member from each team will be required to ascend up a rope 100 vertical feet and then transfer to a rappel on the same line. Another team member will assist from below using a fireman's belay for safety purposes. As with the other points, this rope section can be done at any point in time for the racers. Thus, if there's a bottleneck at the beginning when they enter Burnt Mountain, they may opt to do the rope section as they return to the TA. One checkpoint of note during this section is checkpoint 26. There's no good way in or out of this checkpoint. You're either bushwhacking through Roto or you're climbing up the broad side of a hill. I suspect many teams who are not trying to clear the course will skip this checkpoint. After completing the Burnt Mountain section of the race, racers will get to descend on bikes the 1,000 vertical feet they climbed up the hill dubbed Jeff's Death by race management. This 7-minute descent at 30 plus miles per hour on bikes will give racers the energy they need to push to the finish. This is a 30 to 45-minute ride to the base of Amicalola Falls State Park in CP28. It's at CP28 where those not familiar with the race will be introduced to the race's surprise finish. Racers, not knowing the actual location of the finish up until this point, will be given special instructions. The special instructions will direct them to the top of Amicalola Falls. The staircase that rises to the top includes over 600 stairs and a 1,000 vertical foot gain. During this time, racers may contemplate the 110-mile journey that they've taken over the past 2 days. They may think about the 20 miles on foot, or the marathon paddle, or the 60-plus miles bicycling on roads, Forest Service roads, Jeep trail, and single track. They may be thinking about the ropes, ascent and descent. They may be craving another go at the tunnel, wondering how much easier the river crossing would have been if they had just worked together as a team. They may be thinking about the navigational challenges they faced on the course, both at night and day, or perhaps they may be fighting off the physical exhaustion from the hot days and the cold nights, or the mental fatigue created by focusing for long periods of time. Whatever they're thinking about, the racers will stagger and lumber up the stairs to the glorious finish of the 2010 Atomic Adventure Race presented by Fuji Bikes.